There are moments in your life when everything feels heavy, when your chest tightens, your thoughts overwhelm you, and you don't even have the words to explain what you're feeling. People ask you, "Are you okay?" And you say, "I'm fine," but deep inside, you are not. You feel lost, you feel tired, you feel disconnected. But let me tell you something. There is a place where you don't have to pretend. There is a place where your tears are understood before they even fall. And that place is sujood, when your forehead touches the ground. You are not just bowing your body, you are surrendering your soul. In that moment, you are the closest you will ever be to Allah. Not when you're scrolling, not when you're laughing with people, but when you are alone in sujood, whispering words only He can hear. That's where rebuilding begins. Not in motivation, not in self-help books, but in a broken whisper that says, "Ya Allah, I'm tired." And wallahi, He hears you. He hears the words you say, and even the ones you cannot say. You think you need to be perfect to return to Him? No. You return because you're broken, because your sins are heavy, because your heart is shattered, because you have tried everything else and nothing worked. And Allah says, "Come to me, not when you're fixed, but exactly as you are in sujood. You don't need fancy words. You don't need long doors. Just be real. Cry if you need to cry. Stay longer if your heart needs time. Say, 'Ya Allah, fix me.' Say, 'Ya Allah, guide me.' Say, 'Ya Allah, I have no one but you.' Because the one who created your heart knows how to heal it. And listen carefully, the world will try to rebuild you with distractions, with validation, with temporary happiness. But Allah rebuilds you with peace, a peace that doesn't depend on people, a peace that stays even when everything else is falling apart. So tonight, when everyone is asleep, when the world is quiet, stand up, make wudu, turn to Allah and go into sujood like you've never done before, not rushed, not distracted, but present, broken, sincere, because one sincere sujood can change your entire life. One moment of truth with Allah can rewrite your story. You are not too far gone. You are not too damaged. You are not too sinful. As long as you can still make sujood, you can still rebuild. So rebuild yourself not in front of NASA people, but in front of Allah, alone, in sujood. There is a moment in your prayer that is unlike any other moment in your entire day, a moment that many people rush, many overlook, and many don't truly understand. It is the moment of sujood when your forehead touches the ground, when your body is lowered to its most humble position, and yet in that exact moment your status with Allah is at its highest. Think about that. The lowest physical position, but the highest spiritual state. In sujood, you are not just performing a ritual. You are entering a space of closeness that cannot be replicated anywhere else. You could be surrounded by people all day, speaking, laughing, engaging, but none of that compares to the intimacy of being alone with Allah in sujood. Because in that position, everything else fades. Your titles don't matter, your status doesn't matter. Your problems, your worries, your fears, all of them are placed down along with your forehead. And it is in that stillness, that quiet, that Allah allows you to come closer to Him than at any other time. But the tragedy is that many of us treat sujood as a transition, not a destination. We rush into it, say the words quickly, and rush out of it, as if it's something to get through, not something to experience. We don't pause, we don't reflect, we don't realize that this is the moment where our hearts are meant to open. When you go into sujood, you are placing the most honored part of your body, your face, onto the ground. Why? Because you are acknowledging who you are and who Allah is. You are reminding yourself that no matter how strong you think you are, no matter how independent you feel, you are still in need of Him completely, constantly. And in that moment of humility, something powerful happens. Barriers begin to fall. The pride you carry, the ego you protect, the image you maintain in front of others, it all starts to dissolve. Because you cannot be arrogant in sujood. You cannot pretend in sujood. You cannot hide in sujood. It is just you and Allah. And that is why it is the closest you will ever be to Him. Not because of the physical position alone, but because of what it represents. Total surrender, total honesty, total dependence. When your forehead touches the ground, it is as if your heart is finally speaking without interruption. No filters, no fear of judgment, no need to impress. You can say what you truly feel. You can admit what you've been hiding. You can cry in a way you never allow yourself to cry in front of people. And Allah listens. He listens to the kalamates you whisper and even the feelings you cannot put into words. He knows the pain you carry, the confusion you face, the struggles you hide behind your smile. And in sujood, He opens the door for you to release it all, but you have to be present. You have to slow down. You have to realize that this is not just another part of prayer. This is the heart of it. This is the meeting point between your dafa and His rahmat, between your brokenness and His ability to restore. If you truly understood how close you are to Allah in sujood, you wouldn't rush it, you would hold on to it. You would stay there longer. You would pour your heart out again and again because you know you are being heard by the one who can change everything in an instant. So the next time you go into sujood, don't just go through the motions. Feel it, live it. Let your heart speak, because that moment, that single moment of closeness could be the very thing that transforms you. There is a lie that many people quietly believe, that being broken is a sign of weakness, that if you feel lost, if you feel overwhelmed, if your heart feels heavy, then somehow you are failing. So you hide it, you cover it, you pretend to be strong, even when inside you are falling apart. But the reality is very different. Your brokenness is not your end, it is your invitation. An invitation from Allah to return. Because when everything in your life feels stable, when you feel in control, when things are going your way, you often forget. You rely on yourself. You become comfortable. You stop turning back as much as you should. Not because you're bad, but because you feel like you don't need to. And then something happens, a hardship, a loss, a disappointment, a silent struggle that no one else sees. And suddenly that sense of control disappears. You feel weak, you feel vulnerable. You feel like something inside you has cracked. But that crack is where the light begins to enter. Because it is in that moment of brokenness that your qalb finally softens. The distractions lose their grip. The noise fades. And deep inside, you begin to search for something real, something lasting, something that can actually heal you. And that is when Allah calls you back, not with loud words, not in a way that forces you, but through that emptiness you feel, through that ache in your chest, through that quiet realization that nothing else is enough. Your brokenness is not a punishment, it is a pathway. A pathway back to the one who created you. Ta'i, NK about it, when was the last time you made a sincere dua from the depths of your heart? Not routine words, not something memorized, but a raw, honest plea where your voice trembled and your eyes filled with tears. It usually comes when you are at your lowest, when you have nowhere else to turn, when every other door seems closed. And in that moment, you raise your hands or you fall into sujood and you call upon Allah in a way that is real. That sincerity, that humility, that complete dependence is exactly what brings you closer to Him. So how can that be weakness? It is actually your greatest strength, because it strips away the illusion that you are self-sufficient. It reminds you that you were never meant to carry everything alone. It brings you back to your true position, a servant in need of his Lord. And Allah loves that return. He loves when you come back to Him not perfect, not polished, but broken and sincere. He loves when you admit your dafif, when you acknowledge your mistakes, when you stop pretending and just say, Ya Allah, I need you. That moment is more beloved than 1,000 empty actions done without heart. So don't run from your brokenness. Don't numb it with distractions. Don't hide it behind a smile. Don't try to convince yourself that you have to fix everything on your own before you turn back to Allah. Turn back because you are broken. Turn back because you are struggling. Turn back because you feel lost, because that is exactly when your return is the most real. And understand this, Allah is not waiting for you to have everything together. He is waiting for you to come back right now as you are, with your confusion, with your pain, with your unanswered questions. He sees it all. He knows it all. And He has the power to transform it all. But the first step is not fixing yourself. The first step is returning to Him through Pat, brokenness. So the next time your heart feels heavy, don't see it as the end of you. See it as a door that Allah has opened just for you to come back home. There are moments in life when you feel like no one truly understands you. You try to explain what you're going through, but the words don't come out right, or worse, people hear you, but they don't really listen. They give you quick advice, simple responses, or they change the subject and you're left feeling even more alone than before. So you stop talking, you keep things inside, you carry your worries silently, you smile on the outside while your heart is struggling on the inside, and over time that silence becomes heavy. It builds up until you feel like you're drowning in thoughts no one else can hear, but you are not unheard. There is one who listens even when you say nothing. Allah hears you, not just when your lips move, but when your heart aches. He knows the thoughts that cross your mind at night, the fears you don't share with anyone, the pain you hide behind your patience. He is aware of every tear that falls, and even the tears you hold back. You might sit in a room full of people and feel completely alone, but you are never truly alone, because Allah is closer to you than you can imagine. He is with you in your silence. He is with you in your confusion. He is with you in those moments when you don't even know how to make dua. And sometimes those are the most powerful moments of all, because you don't need perfect words for Allah to listen to you. You don't need to structure your sentences or find the right phrases. You don't need to impress Him. He already knows. He knows what is in your chest before you speak. He understands the feelings you can't describe. He hears the dua that never leaves your lips. When you sit quietly, overwhelmed, and all you can do is think, Ja, all. That alone is heard. When your eyes fill with tears and you don't even know what to ask for, that is understood. When your heart is so heavy that you can't form a single sentence, that silence still reaches him. And that should change the way you see your relationship with Allah. Because you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to turn to Him. You don't need to wait until you have everything figured out. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You can turn to Him right now, exactly as you are, in your weakness, in your confusion, in your quietest moments, and know with certainty that you are being heard, not ignored, not dismissed, not misunderstood. He listens in a way no human ever can. People may get tired of hearing your problems. People may not fully grasp what you're going through. People may even walk away. But Allah never turns away from the one who calls upon Him. Never. Even when you feel distant from Him, He still listens. Even when you've made mistakes, He still listens. Even when you think you don't deserve it, He still listens. And not only does He listen, He responds. In ways you may not immediately see, in ways you may not expect, but always in ways that are best for you. So don't underestimate your quiet moments. Don't think that just because you didn't say much, it didn't matter. Some of the most sincere connections with Allah happen in silence, in those deep personal spaces where it's just you and Him, where there is no audience, no distraction, no pressure, just a heart reaching out to its Creator. So the next time you feel like no one is listening, don't let that push you into deeper silence. Let it push you toward Allah, because the one who created your heart is always listening to it. There is a common mistake people make when they want to change their lives. They look outward before they look inward. They fin. Okay, the solution is in changing their environment, their circle, their routine, their appearance, their opportunities. And while those things can have an effect, they are not where real transformation begins, because you can change everything around you and still feel the same inside. You can move to a new place, meet new people, start something new, and yet carry the same emptiness, the same confusion, the same heaviness in your chest. Why? Because the real issue was never outside to begin with. It was within. True rebuilding doesn't start with what people see. It starts with what Allah sees. It starts in the heart, that place no one else has access to, the place where your intentions live, where your sincerity is tested, where your Iman rises and falls. If that is not worked on, nothing else will truly last. You can build a perfect image for the world, but if your heart is neglected, that image will eventually collapse. And that's why so many people feel stuck. They try to fix their lives by adjusting the surface, but they avoid facing what's inside, because looking inward is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your dafit, your distractions, your sins, your distance from Allah. It requires honesty, the kind of honesty that is hard to accept. But that discomfort is necessary, because healing cannot begin until you acknowledge what needs to be healed. And Allah is not looking at your outer changes the way people do. People are impressed by what they can see, your success, your discipline, your achievements, but Allah looks deeper. He looks at why you are doing what you are doing. He looks at the state of your heart while you are doing it. You might stand in prayer, but your heart is elsewhere. You might say the right words, but feel nothing inside. And that emptiness is a sign Not that you should give up, but that you need to return to the core, to rebuild from within. That means taking moments to disconnect from everything else and reconnect with Allah. It means allowing yourself to be real in front of Him. Not just performing acts, but feeling them. Not just going through routines, but understanding their purpose. It means asking yourself difficult questions. Where is my heart with Allah? Why do I feel distant? What is holding me back? And then turning those questions into sincere dua, because the heart does not fix itself on its own. It is turned, guided, and healed by Allah. You cannot force your heart to feel something it has lost. You cannot simply decide to have sincerity. You ask for it, you seek it, you beg Allah to place it back into your qalbim. And that process is where real rebuilding happens. Slowly, quietly, internally. It may not be visible to others. People might not notice a difference right away, but inside something is changing. Your connection becomes stronger. Your awareness increases. Your dependence on Allah grows. And from that internal shift, everything else begins to follow. Your actions become more meaningful. Your ibadat become more sincere. Your choices become more aligned with what pleases Allah. Not because you forced yourself, but because your heart is now involved. That is the difference. When the heart changes, the life changes. So don't rush to fix everything around you while neglecting what's inside you. Don't chase external transformation without internal renewal. Take the time to rebuild your heart first, because when your connection with Allah is restored internally, He will take care of what is outside, and that is a rebuilding that truly lasts. There is a struggle many people carry quietly in their ibadats, the pressure to be perfect, to say everything correctly, to feel everything deeply, to never make mistakes, to always be consistent. And when they fall short of that image, they begin to feel like their efforts are not enough, like their ibadah is not worthy, like maybe they are not good enough to stand before Allah. So they delay, they hesitate. Sometimes they even stop trying. But this understanding is flawed, because Allah is not asking you for perfection. He is asking you for sincerity. Perfection was never meant for you. It was never within your nature to be flawless. You were created with weakness. You were created to forget, to slip, to fall, and then to return again and again. And that return, when it is sincere, is more beloved than a performance that is empty. Think about it. Two people may stand in prayer. One of them recites beautifully, moves perfectly, completes everything outwardly without mistake, but their heart is distant. Their mind is elsewhere. They are present in body, but absent in soul. The other stands with flaws. Maybe they struggle with focus. Maybe their recitation is not perfect. Maybe their past is full of mistakes. But in that moment, their heart is hava. They feel their need for Allah. They are humble. They are real. Which one do you think is closer? It is not about how it looks. It is about what it contains. Allah looks at your heart. He sees the effort behind your actions. He sees the sincerity in your struggle. He sees the intention that no one else can see. And that intention can elevate a small act into something azim. You might say a short dua, but with a heart that is fully present, and it reaches Allah in a way that long distracted words never could. You might make sujood for a few seconds longer than usual, but in those seconds, you are truly connected. And that moment becomes more valuable than an entire prayer rushed without feeling. This is what sincerity does. It gives life to your ibadah. Without it, actions become habits, movements without meaning, words we felt weight. But with sincerity, even the simplest act becomes powerful. And sincerity does not require perfection. In fact, it often comes through imperfection. When you are aware of your flaws, when you recognize your shortcomings, when you feel your dafaf, that is when your heart softens, that is when you turn to Allah, not out of routine, but out of need. And that need is the foundation of sincerity. So don't let your mistakes push you away. Don't think that because you sinned, you have to wait until you are better to return. Don't let shaitan convince you that your ibadah is not worth anything unless it is perfect. That is how people get trapped. They wait for a version of themselves that doesn't exist, and in the process, they miss countless opportunities to connect with Allah as they are. Come as you are. With your struggles, with your distractions, with your imperfect efforts, but come with a sincere heart. Try, even if it feels small, even if it feels weak, keep turning back, keep showing up, keep making that effort for the sake of Allah. Because sincerity grows. The more you return, the more your heart begins to awaken. The more you engage with your ibadah, the more it starts to affect you. What once felt heavy becomes lighter. What once felt empty becomes meaningful. But it begins with letting go of the need to be perfect and embracing the need to be real. Because in the end, Allah does not want a perfect performance from you. He wants a qalban that truly turns to Him. There are moments in life that seem small on the outside, almost insignificant, but in reality, they carry the power to change everything. Moments that don't make noise, don't attract attention, don't get seen by people, yet they reach the heavens and alter your path in ways you could never imagine. One of those moments is a sincere sujood. You may think it's just a few seconds. Why? I'll go down, you say the words, and you come back up. It feels routine. It feels ordinary. But what you don't see is what can happen within that moment if your heart is truly harder, because sujood is not just a position. It is a tahawul, a turning point, a place where destinies can shift. You could be carrying years of mistakes, habits that you feel stuck in, patterns you think you'll never break, and then one sujood changes it all, not because of the length of it, but because of the sincerity within it. A moment where you finally let go of the distractions. A moment where you stop pretending. A moment where you speak to Allah with complete honesty. Ja Allah, I don't want to be this person anymore. That single sentence, if it comes from the depth of your heart, can be more powerful than years of empty repetition. Because Allah responds to what is real. We often underestimate how quickly things can change. We think transformation has to be slow, complicated, out of reach. We think we need a perfect plan, the right timing, the right environment. But sometimes all it takes is one genuine connection with Allah, one sujood where your heart fully turns. And in that moment, something shifts inside you. Your perspective changes, your priorities realign. The things that once pulled, you begin to lose their hold, not instantly in every aspect, but the direction of your heart changes. And once the heart changes direction, the life follows. But here's the reality. It has to be real, not rushed, not distracted, not just words on the tongue. It has to come from a place of truth. Because you can make sujood 100 times, but if your heart is absent, nothing changes. And you can make sujood once truly present, truly sincere, and it leaves a mark that stays with you. That is the difference. Allah does not look at the number of times you go down. He looks at what happens when you are down. Are you aware of Him? Do you feel your need for Him? Are you speaking from your heart or just repeating what you've memorized? When you begin to approach sujood with this understanding, it stops being a routine and starts becoming a moment you wait for, a moment you value, a moment you don't want to rush, because you know this could be the one that changes your hal, the one that softens your heart, the one that opens a door you thought was closed, the one that brings you closer to Allah than you've ever been before. And even if you don't see immediate results, even if your situation doesn't change overnight, something deeper is happening. Allah is shaping you, strengthening you, guiding you in ways you may only understand later. So never underestimate your sujood. Never think it's too small to matter. Never believe that your quiet moments with Allah go unnoticed. Every sincere sujood is recorded. Every tear is seen. Every honest word is heard. And at the right time, in the right way, Allah responds. So keep going back again and again, because one moment of truth in sujood can rewrite a story you thought was already set. So in the end, after everything you've felt, everything you've carried, everything you've been through, it all comes back to one place. Not people, not distractions, not the world, but Allah. And the most powerful meeting point between you and Him is when you lower yourself in sujood. That is where the lost find direction. That is where the broken begin to heal. That is where the weak become strong again. You don't need to fix your life before you turn to Allah. You turn to Allah and He fixes your life. You don't need perfect words. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need to wait for the right time. All you need is a sincere heart willing to return. So when the world becomes too heavy, when your thoughts overwhelm you, when you feel like no one understands, go back to sujood. Stay there a little longer. Speak a little more honestly. Cry if you need to, because you are not alone in that moment. You are being heard. You are being seen. And you are closer to Allah than you have ever been. Rebuild yourself there, quietly, sincerely, consistently. And watch how Allah rebuilds your heart, your life, your entire path. One sujood at a time.